Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. Despite the New Orleans Pelicans appearing reluctant to trade Murphy before the trade deadline of February 5, the Warriors have plausible reasons to try and convince the team to disregard this stance and acquire the talented Trey Murphy III. If the cost of Murphy is Jonathan Kuminga, a player who supposedly interests the Pelicans, plus another contract with reduced value and 2 unprotected first-round draft picks, this is a good deal for the Warriors' Steelers' career in numbers. The Golden State Warriors have faced an existential question for years: how much are they willing to risk the future by sacrificing draft capital for a win-now move that maximizes the remainder of Stephen Curry's prime? Until this point, nothing, or nobody, has proven good enough to warrant a major risk. Even last February's acquisition of Jimmy Butler only cost the Warriors the 20th overall pick in the 2025 draft. That could change leading up to next month's midseason deadline, with ESPN offering a Trey Murphy III trade idea that could bring the firepower needed to give Stephen Curry and this iteration of the Warriors another genuine shot at a title. Warriors take perfectly calculated risk in Trey Murphy III mock trade. The deal has Golden State moving on from former lottery picks Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, along with 3 future first-round picks, in exchange for Murphy and Jordan Hawkins, while former Warrior Kevin Looney heads to the Utah Jazz to make the money work. Warriors receive Trey Murphy III, Jordan Hawkins. New Orleans Pelicans receive Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Warriors 2026 first-round pick, 2028 first-round pick, top 10 protected, 2030 first-round pick, 5-20. Utah Jazz receive Kevin Looney, 2031 second-round pick, 2032 second-round pick, cash considerations. This is the sort of calculated risk the Warriors need to make before the deadline, and frankly the kind of move they owe to Curry as the franchise's greatest ever player who remains one of the league's best despite nearing 38 years old. Sure, 3 first-round picks, along with Kuminga and Moody, might seem like a steep price to pay for someone who, by next month, won't have made an All-Star game in their first 5 seasons. Yet there's enough protections on these picks to ensure that Golden State won't be completely destroyed if things go completely south. As underwhelming as they've been so far this season, the Warriors still look like a low-tier playoff team. That means the 2026 pick is likely to be outside the lottery, the 2028 pick is top 10 protected, and the 2030 pick is top 5 protected and will only convey through to 20 as the Washington Wizards hold the right thereafter. Perhaps just as importantly, the deal doesn't include Golden State's 2032 first-round pick, which is undoubtedly their most valuable right now. Murphy would instantly bolster an offense that languishes at 19th right now, providing the perfect complement of shooting and athleticism to place alongside Curry and Jimmy Butler. Perhaps the Warriors can even help revive Hawkins' career given their value on three-point shooting, but even without the 23-year-old as part of the transaction, Murphy is enough to consider this trade as one that's worthwhile to make. Draymond Green praises Michael Porter Jr. amid trade rumors. It's pretty clear that the Golden State Warriors are looking to finally move on from Jonathan Kuminga, as they want to bolster their roster and maximize their chances of winning a championship with Stephen Curry and the rest of their veteran core. And Michael Porter Jr. could be that player for the Dubs. What makes things even more interesting is the fact that Draymond Green likes MPJ. He's made himself a very valuable asset for the Brooklyn Nets. We shall see what they do with it over the next 9 days, but I respect what Mike said. Mike said, "I want to be here," Green said on the latest episode of his podcast while discussing his choice for December for the Who Made the Jump award. It's possible Green recorded this podcast a couple of days ago, which would mean that there's a slight chance that his mention of the 9-day timeline would perfectly sync with Jonathan Kuminga's January 15 eligibility. Nonetheless, even if he didn't hint at a move for the 27-year-old, it's great to see Green laud Michael Porter Jr. After all, he's been playing pretty well this season and has truly emerged as a bright spot for this rebuilding Nets team, which doesn't have much to look forward to at the moment. Nonetheless, will he become a Dubs player soon? That will be something we need to wait and watch as the season advances further. Giannis Antetokounmpo can save Stephen Curry's Warriors as Steve Kerr's job hangs in balance, per Insider. Golden State Warriors superstar Stephen Curry is still bending defenses to his will, but everything around him is heavier, slower, and less certain. Even from a distance, the problem with the team is clear: age, injury, and failed development. The Warriors are at a rare NBA crossroads where loyalty, competitiveness, and legacy are all pulling in different directions. It's tough right now, to watch the Golden State Warriors, NBA insider Chris Mannix told co-host Evan Turner during an episode of Open Floor. Steph Curry's still playing at a Steph Curry-like level. He is great, but the pieces around him just aren't making sense anymore. 0:26 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's clear to anyone watching the Warriors that the tension between Curry's brilliance and a roster that isn't enough to compete has become the defining issue of the team's season so far. Draymond Green remains the emotional leader, and Mannix was careful to not dismiss his overall impact, but it's clear that the role has changed. Mannix detailed the limitations with Green at this stage in his career, especially his lack of outside shooting, as well as being forced to play full-time center for the Warriors instead of being a power forward. Leaning into smaller lineups might have been the new thing a decade ago, but now, all it leads to is a regression with Green's play. That limitation is important because the Warriors do not have the luxury of being able to hide their weaknesses with overwhelming talent. Jonathan Kuminga, one of the team's young pieces, hasn't been able to develop as the team hoped, with Mannix openly suggesting a trade is coming. The only question left is how much value is left to extract. Kuminga's value has kind of bottomed out, Mannix said. He hasn't played well. He's been injured. His clashes with Steve Kerr are becoming a bigger and bigger deal. Teams aren't bending over backwards to go get Jonathan Kuminga right now. Now, what does the end of Stephen Curry's future look like? A graceful but hopeless decline spent fighting uphill battles, or one last aggressive swing to stay relevant at the top? Giannis Antetokounmpo gamble may be Warriors' last path forward with Stephen Curry. Evan Turner didn't hesitate to discuss how extreme the Warriors' options have become, and for him, there's only one move that can truly alter the team's trajectory. This summer, like I remember seeing Stephen Curry and Giannis Antetokounmpo have a conversation, Turner told Mannix. That's the only way I think this could work. Warriors must face one final Jonathan Kuminga reality before his inevitable departure. Jonathan Kuminga could be the final bastion of a plan that failed horribly. This is it, folks. Fifth-year forward Jonathan Kuminga will almost certainly be traded sometime in the next 3 weeks, ending a tumultuous tenure in the Bay Area. The 2-year, $47 million contract with a club option he signed this past offseason was designed to allow the Warriors to bring in a high-impact player at the trade deadline should the need arise. The need has arisen, and it is undeniably time for the organization to move on from Kuminga. There is a world in which this turns out positive for both parties. Golden State could get the piece they need to elevate them into championship contention, and Kuminga could finally get an opportunity to showcase his talent in a different system. On the other hand, if it ends poorly for the Warriors, it could be the final gasp of a dying era for the franchise, a sign of the repeated failures of the organization in the final seasons of Stephen Curry's career. No matter how you spin it, Jonathan Kuminga represents a failure on the Warriors' part. Coming off of their unprecedented success in the 2010s, Golden State had a tall task ahead of them. Replenish the roster with talent with limited draft capital while keeping the team competitive enough to honor their stars. While they came away with a championship in 2022, the infamous two timelines plan has undeniably failed. Moses Moody and Brandon Podziemski have both developed into valuable rotation players, but no one has emerged who can make the difference in a championship run, let alone be the face of the franchise when the Curry era ends. Kuminga, as a lottery pick and dynamic scorer, was their best hope to gain this sort of player. Instead, his tenure with the Warriors has been defined by inconsistent play and benchings. He has lost the trust of the coaching staff on multiple occasions, and for better or for worse, few would argue that he has truly been given the chance to develop his talent. The question of what Kuminga could have been for Golden State is now a moot point. There is still success to be had if they are able to win a championship with whatever player is retrieved in the Kuminga deal. Yet there is a painful reality at play here. If the Warriors fizzle out at the end of the Curry era, the end of Kuminga's tenure will serve as a painful reminder of what could have been on an organizational level. The team has consistently failed to adequately draft and develop young talent around their stars over the past few seasons. Kuminga and his inevitable departure could eventually be excruciatingly symbolic of this fact. Warriors can reunite Jimmy Butler with former teammate in Michael Porter Jr. trade. A sneaky rotation addition, 11/2026. Rumors of a potential Michael Porter Jr. trade is providing plenty of excitement for Golden State Warriors fans, but a deal could also give the franchise a chance to reunite Jimmy Butler with a former Miami Heat teammate. From the moment the Brooklyn Nets acquired Haywood Highsmith from the Heat during the offseason, it always looked like he'd become a prime midseason trade target for a playoff contending team. Warriors could reunite Jimmy Butler with former teammate Haywood Highsmith. Unfortunately for the Nets, they've been unable to rehabilitate Highsmith's value in a way they've sensationally done with Porter. The 29-year-old hasn't played a single minute for Brooklyn after knee surgery, having last played with the Heat in last year's playoffs where he averaged just under 21 minutes per game. Highsmith's expiring $5.6 million contract makes him a possible inclusion in a Porter trade, particularly assuming the Warriors will have to combine the salaries of Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody and Buddy Hield. While Highsmith may hold little value right now given his injury issue, his previous impact with the Heat is notable enough to suggest he could once again become an important rotation contributor on a veteran team. The 6'5" forward averaged a career-high 6.5 points on 45.8% shooting from the floor and an efficient 38.2% from three-point range last season, while also adding 3.4 rebounds, 1.5 assists and nearly a steal per game. Butler and Highsmith played 150 games together with Miami over multiple years, sharing success in the franchise's extraordinary run to the 2023 NBA Finals. They were also a strong combination together on the floor, with Miami lineups featuring the duo outscoring opponents by 7.1 points per 100 possessions during the 2023-24 season, and 5.8 last season before Butler was traded to the Warriors before the deadline. If Golden State can pull off a Porter trade, it would make sense for them to also acquire a second player given the salary differential. With former lottery picks in Kuminga and Moody likely going out the door, it would also make sense that the Warriors bring back another wing/forward type in addition to Porter. Combine that with the historical Butler element, and it wouldn't be totally shocking if Highsmith also finds his way to the Bay. Failing that, he could also become a potential buyout candidate if the Nets can't find a deal beforehand, and if the Warriors have roster spots left open from a presumed consolidation trade. With Jonathan Kuminga, the Warriors can't wait around for the perfect trade. If Golden State waits until the offseason to move the 23-year-old wing, the front office risks turning a fading dynasty into a dead one. Want more ways to catch up on the latest in Bay Area sports? Sign up for the Section 415 email newsletter here and subscribe to the Section 415 podcast wherever you listen. There's a style of joke, in television and film, that drags out so egregiously long that it starts out funny, then becomes not funny at all, and eventually comes all the way back around to hilarious. Think the Austin Powers Mustafa gag, opens in new tab. That's Jonathan Kuminga and his roller coaster tenure with the Warriors. The cycle of Kuminga's career: tease a breakthrough, slip up, lose Steve Kerr's trust, deal with trade rumors, repeat, has been dark humor. It was no longer funny this past summer, when contract negotiations seeped into training camp. It's hilarious now, as Kerr has banished the young wing to the bench for over a month, inserting even more awkwardness into the bit. It's time for Golden State to end the joke. To get serious. A league source described the market for Kuminga on Friday as warming, with multiple teams registering varied interest. The Kings, whom the Warriors destroyed on Friday, are among the teams fond of Kuminga. That's great for the Warriors. They need to take advantage. They have no excuse for failing to find a trade partner to unload a player who is providing the current team zero value. For as tense as the past summer was for Kuminga's camp and the Warriors, they agreed to structure his deal in the most tradable manner possible. That's, of course, not a coincidence. Because Kuminga is making $22.5 million this year with a team option for $24.3 million next year, he's not only at a salary that can be easily aggregated in trades, but he's also on an expiring contract this year or next. He's a prime example of a potential low-risk acquisition, because a team can eject for cap relief if they don't like what they see or hammer out an extension if Kuminga balls out. There are teams across the league who are interested in Kuminga because of his potential as a 23-year-old dynamic athlete. Practically any team outside of the inner circle of contenders could be intrigued by that contract. Kuminga becomes trade eligible on January 15, but don't expect a breaking news tweet when the clock strikes midnight. Multiple sources indicated the Warriors don't have a trade lined up. Under general manager Mike Dunleavy, Golden State tends to operate with pragmatism and patience, and will intend to execute the best deal possible. But the Warriors shouldn't be too picky. The perfect trade for Kuminga, a distressed asset getting DNPs, will probably never come. If one doesn't appear in the month leading up to February 5, it almost certainly won't be available next summer when Kuminga's contract becomes slightly less appealing. Some trade offers might be hard to swallow from a value perspective for the former 7th overall pick, but Kuminga is a sunk cost. The Warriors need to turn him into anyone, that can help the team win this year.